Have you ever suddenly felt anxious for no reason, heavy or filled with fear, and had no idea where this has come from? And when you feel that anxiety, right, it doesn't feel like you, who you are, doesn't sound like you, and yet it takes over your thoughts, your body, and your peace. I'm sure when you ask this question, right, you would at least identify one or two instances where you feel that you have been hijacked. And it's important to know that so that you can find a way out of it. And this has happened to me too a few years ago. And when it happened, when I explored it deep, it changed the way I see emotional boundaries forever. Hi, I'm Mahalakshmi Sampson. I'm a counseling psychologist and a personal excellence life coach. In this video, I'm diving deep into sudden moments of anxiety that we feel, where we feel we are lost in that moment, and it takes a lot of time to come back also. And what is that awareness that we need to build it, and what is it that we need to do to come out of it, is what we are going to learn in this video. A few years ago, I was feeling deeply low. Suddenly, I was overwhelmed with fear and negative thoughts. I felt hijacked from the inside out. But this wasn't like me. Actually, I was asking myself, where did this come from? I hadn't watched anything disturbing, nor had been through anything traumatic at that time. When I asked this question, is when it struck me that in that week, I'd been talking a lot with someone whom I like, a relative that I trust. But this person, unfortunately, lives in a state of constant anxiety, constant pessimism, and constant fear. And because I liked them and felt close, I missed to protect my boundaries. I let my boundaries down. And there was a consequence for that, because of which I did not protect my energy. And the consequence is their worldview has started to become mine. Their worries has entered into my system, and their emotional storm was now raining on my calmness. If you seriously ask, was this emotion mine? No, but I was still feeling it in my body and in my mind. And when this happens to you, actually, it happens to so many of us. You may not even realize that this is happening to you, but suddenly your peace is gone when it is happening. You feel hijacked, you feel anxious, and nothing seems to make sense to you at that point of time. That is why awareness is so important. And asking these questions actually help you to arrive at that awareness, because when you don't recognize what is happening, it starts to pile up. When it gets piled up, then it becomes unprocessed emotions, which begins to show up, and it shows up to the outside world as over reacting in small situations, and you would not even have realized that you have reacted that way, you have shown up that way. And you realize it only when you feel that pain, that somebody telling you, why so much of drama, this is nothing, right? Why are you overreacting? Right, when they say that is when when you experience that pain, then you know that you have reacted overly for something very small. And it can also show up as overspending. Possibly you get into a mall just thinking of going for a window shopping, and possibly have an ice cream and come back. But when you come back, you end up having purchased for having shopped for about 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000 also. Right, it can also show up as overeating. Possibly you feel that you're not really hungry, but you end up having ordered so much, and also you end up eating so much. It can also be about overthinking, where for a very small thing, possibly you're spending so much of your bandwidth, the length, height, breadth, and width of it, which is actually not required. And you're also experiencing emotional numbing out, and emotional burnout, or a complete shutdown also. So if you have experienced that, or if you're undergoing that, now first thing is you need to be aware that this can happen to you. And second is you need to be aware of what to do in that situation so that you can lead yourself out of it powerfully. So, what you can do? The first thing that you can do is you can ask yourself a few sanity check questions. And these questions could be: what just happened? When did I start feeling this way? Whose emotion is this if it is not mine? Is this even mine? Right? So these are the questions that you need to ask, and get ready to use a very important technique that I am going to teach you now. When I learned this technique, when I applied it on me, when I struggled with this anxious moments, right, when my emotions were hijacked, it helped me to come back to myself. And I'm going to teach you that, and this technique is called time warp technique. It's very simple, but don't let that fool you. It's a powerful tool to pull yourself out of emotional confusion and into a perspective, right? So now what you need to do is grab a pen and a paper, and it has got 4 steps. Time warp technique has got 4 steps. The first one is identify the situation. So how you can identify the situation? You need to ask the questions like, what's bothering you right now? Write it down. Name that thing that is bothering you and own it. Is it a conflict? Is it a lost opportunity, a rejection, or a mistake? You need to find it out. And step 2 is ask yourself, is this situation really that important? So much so that I'm getting hijacked even without my awareness, right? So be honest about it. If this situation doesn't matter a year from now, will you still let it steal today, your today, right? 95% of the time the answer will be no. And if it is a yes, then you have something very serious to think and work on, right? Then go to step 3. What do I want in this situation? That's the question you need to ask in step 3. Is it a clarity that you want? Or is it a solution that you want? Or is it peace that you want? Write it down. What do I want? And what is possible in what I want? What is the next right step? Be very honest and write the answers that you get. And then move to step 4. And step 4 is about, if it won't matter a year from now, then choose to release it. Let it go. You don't need to carry something that your future self won't even remember, right? Why this matters more than you think? Actually, you may think, what is this? A video is being made. Actually, it matters more than you think. You might ask, Maha, if I use the time warp technique, if I'm able to identify the situation, when I use this technique, is it going to solve all my problems? Definitely not. Definitely not. And it may not also. But every right action has to begin with the first move. Right? Every problem that you want to solve in your life has to begin with the first right step. So when you use this time warp technique, it will give you what many people miss. And you know what it gives? It gives perspective. And with perspective comes power. The power to think clearly, the power to choose wisely, the power to feel what is yours and leave behind what is not. Because it is not the intensity of our emotion that traps us, it is the lack of clarity around that which actually traps us, right? So if your happiness feels hijacked, pause, check in, ask the questions, use the time warp technique. Your emotions are messages, not prisons, and you need to really understand this. And when you give yourself the space to process, you stop living by other people's patterns and start leading from your own center. And your own center is your own core. And in your own core, lies the very important answer to the question, who am I? So if this resonates with you, share this with someone who often observes others' energy without realizing it. And also, I invite you to subscribe for more insights on emotional wellness, perspective, and self leadership. And remember, your mind is yours and your peace is worth protecting. So, please comment below. Has this ever happened to you? Have you ever felt your emotions being hijacked and you didn't feel yourself? Let's normalize this conversation. Thank you. See you and bye.